Navika Kumar is in conversation with legal luminary Harish Salve. Let's cut across.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harish Salve, for joining me here on Times Now. On a day, scandal has hit the judiciary. And this time, a load of cash has been found at the house of a judge in the Delhi High Court. And the Supreme Court has merely transferred him out to the Allahabad High Court. Matter settled. The judiciary has no accountability. That's the perception people are getting. How do you respond to this scandalous development?
Navika, the trouble is this was an accident waiting to happen. The judiciary has, through the Collegium system, eviscerated any checks and safeguards which are necessary in any system. My first point is, if this money had been found in your house, the ED would have been taking you to government accommodation by now. You're a private person. If this money had been found in the house of the Home Secretary, the Finance Secretary, the Defense Secretary, what would have followed? Suspension followed by an inquiry. If, perish the thought, this had been found in a minister's house, the whole country would have been baying for his blood. Why should it be any different if the money has allegedly, as they say, and I don't know, I'm going by what you people are saying and showing, if the money has been found at a judge's house? So first of all, double standards. Secondly, this decision, and I make no bones about this decision to transfer is wrong at so many levels. It is wrong because if a person has facing allegations, you cannot allow him to function as a judge. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you remember, there used to be a Justice Ramaswamy, very fine judge, let me tell you, Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana High Court. He was alleged to have spent excess money on curtains and carpets. Nobody suggested he took a bribe. But that was an impropriety, that was a breach of the rules. The chorus became loud till finally the Supreme Court had to intervene. Chief Justice Mukherjee didn't do it from inside his chambers. He came into open court with a written order and read out why he felt an inquiry was necessary, and ended by saying, till the inquiry is over, I am withdrawing all judicial work from this learned judge. He sat for months as a judge of the Supreme Court without doing any judicial work. So that is what happened. And we have that already as a precedent in the Supreme Court. The second reason why I feel this is wrong at so many levels is the judiciary has no power over the purse or the sword, as we say. Its only power comes from the power of public opinion. Why is it that the government dare not disobey the Supreme Court? Because the people of India will not accept a government which doesn't obey the Supreme Court. If the people lose faith in the courts, that's the end of democracy as we know. And corruption is one of the worst elements in the matter of eroding credibility. And mind you, it's not proven corruptions, it is perception of how the system deals with corruption. And if the general feeling is he's got off lightly, and it's for good reason, that destroys not just him, that destroys the edifice of the system. The third, which is wrong, is if you find him good enough to take action, what's wrong with Allahabad High Court? Why must they have a judge sitting who has a cloud over his head? Then let him sit in Delhi High Court. No, he's not good enough for Delhi High Court, but he's good enough for Allahabad High Court. What is Allahabad High Court, a dustbin? So it is wrong at so many levels and for so many reasons. I don't think,
so,
and
I'm
bold to say.
I want to ask you because today cash has been recovered. At latest count, people are saying, sources are telling us this is cash worth several crores of rupees. And believe you, it's in double digits. It's not in single digits, the latest number that our sources are telling us. If it is in double digits and that kind of money has been recovered from the judge's storeroom, I want to ask you, why should not a disproportionate assets case or where is he getting this kind of cash income from? Be the first criminal investigation in this case, because it is a man in a public office and unaccounted for cash is found. Isn't this a prima facie case that the police should deal with as any ordinary citizen?
Absolutely. First of all, the Supreme Court, if the judge had offered them an explanation which was good, they should have taken no action and they should have exonerated the judge. But that's not what happened. I don't know, you people have some photographs or something of what was done. If you've seen the photographs and you say it's a large sum of money, which is a very serious matter, then there are two actions which have to be taken. The judges, I believe, have now ordered an in-house inquiry. I don't think the in-house inquiry is fair even to the judge. And let me tell you why. If the in-house inquiry finds him guilty, everybody will say you were only buying time and you knew what was going on, because ultimately you're the chaps who got the first explanation. But worse, if the in-house, suppose he has an explanation and the in-house inquiry exonerates him, what are you all going to say? It's a cleanup job, right? Everybody will say it's Operation Cleanup. So in fairness, what is wrong in having an inquiry with a judge and two independent, eminent citizens who conduct this inquiry and give a report? And if they give a report in which they indict the judge, then the CBI registers an FIR and the law takes its course. And this inquiry can't take not even weeks, according to me. It should be over in days, because it's a case of cash being found. Either he has an explanation or he doesn't. And if he has an explanation, it should be produced immediately. And if he doesn't, consequences must follow. So I'm telling you,
but Mr. Salve,
don't mix my words.
Judges have been judges in their own cases. So if they are judges in their own cases, why should there be an in-house inquiry at all? It's always said that an external agency should do the investigation.
I agree with you entirely, but the external agency, there is a check and safeguard. You don't straight away order the police to come into a judge's house, as they say. Very well. Have an independent inquiry, and this inquiry should take not more than 2 weeks, according to me. Have an independent inquiry. If an inquiry of 3 independent people find him guilty, that's a good enough case for the CBI to register a case and go ahead. See, please let us not minimize the impact of what is going on today. The system is on trial, not the judge. The system is on trial. People are seeing how is the system going to react to such a serious matter. If you do not rise to public expectations, the judge may or may not suffer. The judiciary and its image would have suffered irreparably.
Absolutely. But let me ask you, in 2008, there was the case of Justice Nirmal Yadav. In 2008, it began. There was a charge sheet, but the judge in question stayed in office till retirement in 2021. The case has gone on for 17 years and there has never been a conclusion to that case. Mr. Salve, do you expect any justice from within the system itself?
Well, that is precisely the reason. See, we don't have a system, first of all. Let's be very clear, Navika. We don't have a system. I don't call this Collegium system, I don't think it's worthy of being called a system at all. So whether it comes to appointment of judges or whether it comes to inquiry against judges, I don't think we have a system. We need a system which has, because the system must have credibility and must have transparency. In today's day and age, without credibility and transparency, nothing is acceptable. So we must have a system which is credible. And the only way that will happen is if, and I personally feel, and I said this on the other channel, I vote for people to come to power to make laws to fix all problems. This is a very serious threat to Indian democracy. Because if people lose faith in the impartiality and the honesty of our judicial system, that will be the end of Indian democracy as we know it. I think the opposition life must come up with a law for appointment of judges and for judicial accountability, accommodating the need for protecting judges from unnecessary harassment and inquiry, preserving their independence, and yet at the same time having a system which can deal with such situations. And we need that desperately now. In the meanwhile, what do you do in the next 1 week? I feel if the court says this is too serious a matter, since this whole thing is now out in public domain, we will have an inquiry in which two members, eminent members of the public, will participate. I think the system would, to some extent, have vindicated itself. But as I told Arnab Goswami,
I don't know if there is anybody as eminent as judges themselves, whether they will consider anybody eminent enough to be on such a panel, because the perception is that the judiciary is way above the rest of humankind. But I want to ask you, Mr. Salve, the Supreme Court transferring a judge who came from the Allahabad High Court back to the Allahabad High Court after the discovery of this cash, how does it reflect on the Supreme Court? The public today does not have a statement in the open by the Supreme Court. What kind of cash was found? What are the reasons for transfer? Do you think this also takes away from the credibility of the apex court itself?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The Collegium system is on trial. The Collegium system has to vindicate itself. If the judges want to say that the Collegium system is good enough as a check and safeguard in the matter of appointment of judges and in the matter of running the affairs of the judiciary, they have to vindicate themselves. This was a great moment for them to have vindicated themselves. And I am suggesting, if they are willing to rise to the occasion, take it outside. What has happened is not inside closed doors. What has happened outside is in public gaze. Justice now has to be done in public gaze. The moment you try and make anything in-house out of this, it will look like you are trying to put a veil on what has happened, and that will be destructive of credibility. So I think the wise judges need to sit down and think how they are going to maintain the credibility of the Collegium system. And I think all people in Parliament, all people, irrespective of political affiliation, have to realize how serious the matter is, how the public perception is in relation to this reaction of the Collegium, and decide what can be done to fix this problem.
So, Mr. Salve, I want to ask you, last evening, when this matter was dealt with over the last 1 week, because 14th of March is when this money was recovered. It was with the higher authorities till the 20th of March, 6 days passed, and then a transfer was done last night. Today, when there is an uproar, there is an announcement of an in-house investigation. Do you think a cover-up or at least brushing under the carpet that was on is now being converted into an in-house investigation only after this whole matter has come to public? What does it speak about accountability within the judiciary itself, considering it's untouchable by any other authority in this country?
The answer lies in all your questions, Navika. Can a judicial institution survive if people like you, who are literate, educated, and part of the public system of discussion and debate, start thinking like this? The judiciary has to be like Caesar's wife, above suspicion. If you have all these thoughts in your mind, I'm saying the very fact that you're asking these questions, and I have to admit these are serious questions, shows that there is a serious problem here. And I repeat, this is a problem not just of one judge with cash. This is a problem today of perception. This has been simmering and it has come to a boil. There have been whispers. There has been gossip. There has been gossip of increased corruption in the judiciary. We do nothing, and now it blows up in our face. If we still do nothing, then we may as well stop pretending that we believe in any value systems. If this had happened to a member of the union cabinet, and the union cabinet said we will hold an in-house inquiry, what would the Supreme Court have done? SIT, monitored investigation? Or would it have said, no, let the government have an in-house inquiry? Do we have double standards?
Certainly not. And Mr. Salve, may I add here, since we are talking and raising questions about the judiciary, will we be caught on the issue of contempt of court because we are raising these questions, in which case, please be my lawyer, because the questions are being asked. We've asked these questions of every other section of the society, but about judges, there is such a sanctimonious atmosphere that is maintained that nobody can ask questions.
Look, first of all, why are you putting these pictorials? Are they actual, or are these AI simulated?
AI generated. AI generated.
Please don't do this. This is not right. But
this is what it would possibly look like.
Yeah, but the real issue is something else. There is an allegation that a judge has been found with cash. What we are discussing is how has the system responded? And is the public convinced that this is an adequate response? That is a criticism of the system. Nobody is saying that any judge of the Supreme Court has done the wrong thing by taking a bribe to come to this conclusion or has done it for a personal motive. We are criticizing an action. And I have always criticized the Collegium system because it opens judges to this kind of scrutiny. If you do not want this kind of scrutiny into your conduct, don't run the Collegium system. Let there be an independent judicial accountability watchdog who will take care of these kind of problems. You want to do everything yourself. You want to appoint judges yourself. If there is a bad person who's appointed as a judge, whom will we criticize? We will criticize you. If you want to deal with all allegations of corruption against a judge and saying we will deal with it, and if we are not satisfied, we will criticize you. If tomorrow somebody in the union cabinet or a state cabinet is found with cash and the chief minister takes action, whom do we criticize? The chief minister or the government of the day, and in much sharper words than what you and I are using. The judges sitting on those high chairs use much sharper words for members of the government if there is an allegation against the government. Are you and I convinced that they have applied the same rigor and standard to one of their own? No, we are not. Are we not entitled to say this? Of course we are entitled to say this. I mean, I speak for myself and say I'm most probably whistling in the wind. Nobody cares. But sometimes somebody has to say it.
Absolutely. It's time to care. It's time to take notice. It's time to set the system right, because actually in public offices, transparency is something that the public deserves to know. And there are millions of people who line up outside these courts waiting for justice. Can there be justice when the judges sitting inside?
I'll only close by saying, Navika, there used to be a very, very wise and a fine judge in the Supreme Court called Justice Yashwant. And he used to always say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. There is an infection today. You have found signs of an infection. This infection will only be healed by sunlight.
Absolutely. More light, more sunlight, and more transparency. But closing the matter with just a transfer will not suffice. Questions are being raised, answers are deserved, because it is a democracy that we live in. Thank you very much, Mr. Harish Salve, for joining me on Times Now. We'll slip into a short break. Much more news on the other side.